Alright, hey guys, welcome. We're going to do a tutorial today. I'm going to show you what we're going to make. It's something I was working on in my physics gun level there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All it really is going to be is the spawning of crates from a location with the path node, and then that creates ability to interact with other objects and triggers and things like that. So let me just show you really quick how this works. Press that crate spawned, it's KActor, there's a bunch of things. You can go like wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then something I'm not going to show you, but once you put in there, it interacts with the trigger volume and things like that. And then once that hits, that falls. Things like that happen. So I'm going to show you something similar to that, basically the basics. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back, we're going to create a new level here. Let's do morning lighting. It doesn't really matter. So the first thing we're going to do is create a path node. So let's right click, let's go to add actor, let's go down to path node. Path nodes look like a little apple or a peach. So let's spawn this kind of in the air. Let's build paths really quick just so it's there. Or it just goes there. Fair enough. Doesn't really matter. And that's really all we need to do in terms of setup to what we need to do today. So let's go into Kismet. Actually, let's shrink Kismet. The first thing we need to do, let's go to View, World Properties, and then Default Game Type. Let's go to UT Game, and then Game Type for PIE, UT Game. So now, when we spawn, we'll have the gun and everything like that, which is good. And it'll allow us to, reference some things in Kismet. So let's set Kismet up. Let me separate my windows here. So the first thing I want to do, I want to create an event. Basically, my event is going to be pressing the Enter key. And when I press the Enter key, it's going to spawn a crate. So let's right click. Let's go New Event. Let's go to New Input. Key button pressed. And in the properties, it automatically gives us max trigger count to 0, so we can spawn this an infinite amount of times. So all we need to do is under input names, let's add that plus, and let's add the word enter. And just to see if this is working, let's add a new action. Let's go down voice announcements and play announcement. And under announcement text, we're going to type in enter pressed, exclamation point. And I'm going to do, nope, I'm going to do that. So let's jump in. And let's see, let me press enter. Enter pressed. Sweet. So it's working. I press it as many times as I like. I believe it'll show up in here too. Yep. So now that's working, so we can just get rid of this real quick. Let's put it up here. Now that we know our input button here is working pretty good, just pressing enter. What we need to do, let's go right click, let's go new action, actor, actor factory. Now let's do spawn actor right into press like that. Now in our actor factory, let's go to factory, scroll down to UT factory, UT KActor. This is going to spawn KActors. And now what we need to do, some of the parameters down here, let me widen this up. The first parameter, starter awake, that just means as soon as it's spawned, will it already have physics applied. That's what awake means. So you can tell it to not start awake and then tell it to wake up at a later time using another trigger. But we're going to leave everything how it is default with damage applying impulse and things like that. You can also give it an initial velocity. So say, I'll make this like 500. So if I spawn, once I spawn the KActor, it'll go up in the air like 500 units per second, I'm guessing. Not too sure what the unit of measurement is for velocity in Unreal. We don't want to enable stay upright spring. That just tells the box or the object to stay upright, which doesn't really matter. We're going to keep it unchecked for now. Now all we need to do is go into our content browser and let's get our static mesh that we want to spawn. So I'm going to type in cube static mesh. Let's do crate. Let's make it a pretty object. So select that, minimize our browser here. Back in Kismet, let's go to static mesh, hit that green arrow, and it'll grab whatever we had selected in our content browser. Now for draw scale, this is how you can, you know, change the size of everything. So I've made this like 20 by 20 by 20. We're going to be spawning a huge crate. So just for, you know, funny purposes, I'll keep it at that size. But once we know it's working, I'm going to change it back down. So all we need to do now is have our path node selected in the level and do spawn point. Let's right click on that and do new object var using path node 0. So now we're basically telling the crate to spawn at this path node. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to press enter. Ooh, we're in that box, I think. Raw. Raw. And the reason why it disappears is because there's, if I show volumes, there is a kill volume right below here, and then you die, basically. The reason why it hits is because it's so large. So let's change the draw scale down to about 0.5 in all three, just to make it smaller. Hit enter. Boom. Boom. And keep pressing enter and more will spawn. And in order to get the kill volume away, go to view, go to world properties, type in kill, and change kill Z to like -5,000 just so it doesn't get in the way. Now if we go again, you won't see any crates disappear randomly. So you're like, boop. And that's fun. So that's pretty fun. So now I know that that spawn's working. You know, that's basically the gist of this tutorial, but I'm going to do a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so you can only spawn one crate at a time. So once you spawn one crate, you can't spawn another until that other one gets destroyed. So this is what we'll do. In our main scene here, let's take our builder brush. Let's right click on brushes here under cube, and let's change it so we just make a wall basically. So let's do 1024 just to make a large wall, and we can thin it out by making that maybe 64. Just make it a pretty decently thin wall. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go to volumes. Trigger volumes are down here. Trigger volume. And we made a trigger volume there. We just moved the brush. And there we go. We got trigger volume there. But what we need to do, I believe, in our actor factory node here, if we scroll down, there's a no encroach check. So we need to make this false in order for our touch event with that trigger volume there to be, you know, to happen to occur. So what we need to do now, we need to do a couple things. Let's right click, let's do a new variable, new object variable object. And then the var name, let's do crate. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do new variable, new named variable. Under expected type, let's go to object. Under name, let's name it crate, and we get that check mark. What we're going to do, we're going to plug that into spawned. So now, whatever spawned with the crate will be put into here. So now we have an object variable representing the crate that's spawned. All we need to do is create another variable here. Let's go right click, new variable, back to object, but we're going to do object list this time. And then down here, scroll down to find the var name. Let's name this crate list. Put that there. Now let's copy and paste this name variable here. Whoops. And now under expected type, let's do object list, and then let's change this to crate list. Is there a space in between? Yeah, there was. Just make sure you get the names right, or you'll get that X. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and create a copy of that one too. We're going to need it. What we're going to do, let's go right click, let's go new action, object list, modify object list. And what we're going to do, we're going to do finished add to list. So every time a crate spawned, it's going to be added to a list. What list are we going to do? The crate list. So let's plug that into object list var right there. And then the object reference is going to be crate. Now we need to create one more variable here. So let's right click, new variable, int, and then int. And let's go to var name. Name this crate count. So let's copy and paste one of these one last time here. Change its expected type to int and name it crate count. So now what happens is when we create a crate here, it spawns at our path node there, and then the crate that spawned is put into this crate variable there, in the spawn right there. And then we add that crate that spawned into our list, and that list is our crate list. And then we have a counter that checks how many is in there. So to double check everything, let's add a log. So let's hold down the L key and left click, create a log here. Hold down the P key and left clicking on target to create a player variable, which is in the settings, uncheck all players just to make it player 1. And when we plug in finished into the end of into the log, excuse me, what will happen is every time we spawn one, we'll log how many crates are in our list. So let's right click on our log, let's expose a variable, and let's expose int, and let's just copy and paste crate count, just plug that in. So let's see if this works. So now we have 1, 2, 3, ooh, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, so on, so on. It'll keep track of all the crates we have in the level there. And they're all put into that object list variable. So they're all in that one variable. So that's how we wanted to have it work. So let's disconnect our log here. Let's put it aside. That could be with our play announcement here. Usually I like to keep the things I use to debug in the Kismet sequence just in case I need it. So now what we want to do, let's select our trigger volume here. Right click in our Kismet area, do new event, using trigger volume 0, let's do a touch event. Let me expand this. What we need to do at this point is down in properties here, we have class proximity types. This is basically the different classes that this trigger volume will recognize when it gets touched. Right now it is looking for the pawn. We don't want that for now, so let's remove that item there by hitting the X. Now let's add a new item by hitting that plus, and we get a huge drop-down list. So it gives us every single kind of class that exists in Unreal. But all we need to do is hit the K key, and it'll bring us straight to KActor. So now it's recognizing just KActors. And now what we need to do is from here, when the trigger volume is touched, I want to destroy the crate that it touches. So right now we have the trigger volume working with the KActor. So let's right click, new action, actor, destroy, and the target is going to be our instigator. So let's right click on our instigator, do create new object variable, and then target, touch. So now what it's saying is whatever touches this trigger volume, as long as it's a KActor, it's going to get destroyed. So let me double check this real quick. Let's see if I die if I touch that volume. Show volume here. Oops. Show volumes. Okay, cool. It's working so far. It's not killing me. So let's pick up a crate. Okay, it's not working now. I think I know why. Let's go back here. Trigger volume. Let's go back down. Let's see if max trigger count. Changing that to 0 will change anything, as well as getting rid of the player only check. So let's uncheck that. Let's go back in. Let's double check. Show volumes. So that's good so far, we're not dying. And it works. So we can just toss it and it'll get destroyed. This could be a fun game. Witcha. And you can just destroy them. So that's working. And what we can do actually, let's do a level loaded. And how to do a level loaded, you go to new event, go down to level loaded. Now what we're going to do is just plug level loaded invisible into the end of our log here that checks our crate count. And let's make a loop here. So let's right click on out, do set activate delay of 1 second, and plug it back to the end. So now we have a loop that'll log in how many crates we have in our level every second. So for now it'll be like 0, and then it'll be like 1. And it'll go back. Oh, okay. Yeah, the reason why it doesn't go back to 0, I forgot. So let's go back and figure out why. The reason why is because when we destroy it, we don't remove that object from our object list. So let's copy and paste this modify object list and all the variables there. We can remove the crate right now, I think. Let's just unplug it for now, just in case we need it. But when we destroy, we want to remove from list, and our object reference is going to be this, the instigator. So let's see if this changes anything. Let's show our trigger volume. Whoops. I can't spell volumes today. So there's our volume. Enter, crates made, throw it in, and it gets removed. Awesome. So let's create like a couple of them. Now we have 6. So let's throw one in there. Now we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh. We'll always have 1, I guess. Oh, I fell. But we know that's working so far, so that's good. So now what we want to do, we don't need this anymore, so let's remove that. Let me isolate this here. Hold Alt Control together, left click drag a marquee selection, hit the C key. I've got a comment that says debug. Just put this to the side. So we can also have different things happen when a trigger volume is touched by one of the crates that we spawn. Say, for example, we want an object to move. So let's say we want this crate to move, this giant box here in the center. Let's right-click it, go down to convert to mover, just to make it a mover there, so we can animate it in Matinee. Open up Kismet again, making sure that crate is selected in the editor there. Let's right-click, do New Matinee. Double-click that to bring up Matinee, open there. And then in Matinee, this gray area, let's right-click, do Add New Empty Group. Let's name this Cube Move. Let's right-click on that, do New Movement Track. And let's do 5 seconds, and just create a new keyframe there by pressing Enter. And let's just drag this way. So now if we watch it, it'll move. Be like, so it moves, which is good. So now what we want to do, back in Kismet, every time it's touched, we can play it. So let's see if that works. So let's press Enter, spawn our cube. And now we're moving the crate. So that's really cool. And then what we can do is, we can do, I believe it is rewind on play, no reset on rewind. What this will do is we'll keep pushing the crate forward every time we have one of these touch the trigger volume. So let's see if it works. Spawn another crate. Yep. So we'll keep pushing forward and forward. And just keep going. So let's get rid of that. We don't really need that. That was just an example of how you can use Matinee animations and things like that. So all we have to do now is make it so we can't spawn a crate if there's already one already spawned for us. So what we need to do, we need to do a comparison, and we need to do that throughout the entire time the level's loaded. So let's go right-click, New Event, Level Loaded. When the level's loaded, we want to make a comparison here. So New Condition, Comparison, Compare Int. The first int we're going to compare is our crate count. And then the second int we're going to compare, this could be a new variable there, so let's right click, do new int. And let's do Let's leave it at 0. So loaded invisible goes into the compare int. Let's see, there we go. So what we need to do, I gotta think, let's go. We gotta do new action, toggle. So if A is equal to B, let's turn on, and if A is greater than B, let's turn off. And what we're going to turn off is the event, the key button press. So just drag that there. And this should be good to go. Let's check. Nope, still not working. Why not? Now I gotta think. Let's do one. Unplug. Let's say, as long as A is less than B, turn on. If A is greater than B, A is greater than or equal to B, turn off. Let's see. Still not working. That's strange. Let's see here. Oh, I know why. Derp. Alright, let's make that 0 again. What we need to do is, if A is equal to B, we turn that on. But if A is greater than B, turn it off. And what we need to do, we need to do a feedback loop, I believe. So let's do 0.1 seconds and go back in. So we'll keep checking and comparing those two. So let's see what happens. There we go. That's working. Throw it back in. Boom, we can create a new one, but we can't create a new one until this one gets destroyed. There we go. So that's working too. So that's awesome. So that's basically it for this tutorial. I'm just going to organize things really quick. Just create comments. With this comment, I'm going to do create check. Then we're going to do this new one, comment, create and add crate. Do this one, comment, remove, and destroy crate. And then we have our debugs here. And then our variables over here, so let's create a comment for that as well. Let's just organize that. So boom, there we go. So let's do a little recap. First, all I did, I created a key button pressed event here. Made it so when I press the enter key, it'll spawn a crate. And it's right here. It'll spawn in the path node we have in the level there. And the spawned, whatever spawned, that object is going to be placed into this crate object variable. And after a crate is spawned, it's added to our list here, our crate list that we created. And we reference our crate that's created. And then we have this crate count that keeps track of how many crates are in that list. Then we have a trigger volume right here. Every time that trigger volume is touched by a KActor, we destroy whatever it was that touched it, whichever KActor it was, and then we remove that same KActor from our list there. And then very last but not least, we keep track to how many crates are in our crate count variable. As long as there's no crates in that object list, we can create a crate. But if there's already one in there, we can't create one. And that's what happens there. So let me show you this one more time. So let's press enter. We create a crate there. Throw it in there. Create a crate. Now I'm pressing enter. But nothing's happening because there's already a crate made. Then we throw it in, get it destroyed, and remove it. Now we have 0. Press enter again. Now we have a new one. So that's basically it. Now what we need to do is just save this file. I'll do create spawn _tut for tutorial. And that'll be it for this one. It was a relatively quick tutorial, but you know, you can do a lot of different kind of attacks this way by spawning actors, having them react to trigger volumes, you know, having them check how many are in the level, things like that. So definitely, you know, check this out. If you actually create something interesting, if you want to show me, share with me, definitely comment with a link to it if you can, or just message me. I definitely want to see what you guys come up with using these kind of mechanics in the tutorials here. Um, so if you have any questions, comment with questions, comment with, if you have any confusion, things like that. Also comment with new ideas for tutorials. I was asked to do a day-night cycle tutorial, so I'm going to work on that this week. Make a level that does a day-night cycle, and then, I'll show you how to do it in one of these tutorials. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And thank you guys very much for watching and supporting.